All right. Good Sunday morning. Good Sunday morning. I tell you, if you look at the collection of these videos, I always have this beautiful blue sky behind me. We are having the nicest November weather in New York. And so as always, I let the number climb up to 1,000. We're halfway there. Come on, baby. Get over. There we go. All right. Well, first of all, I hope you are all enjoying your Sunday morning. I hope your weather is as glorious as mine is here on the east end of Long Island. A couple of things we're going to talk about today. I'm going to warn you. You may not like what I have to say about when we start talking about the wall. But I ask you to hear me out throughout the end. All right? I'm going to start off, though, with some house cleaning items. As you may or may not know yet, every night I take 10 of the 10,000 emails that we receive and comments we get on Facebook. I take 10. I take them out randomly, and for as long as they are coherent sentences and comments, I respond to them and I put them on my site, and you'll see it's towards the top at DennisMichaelLynch.com, your emails to DML. Last night I received an email from a woman who was distraught over a video that she saw on a website. It was a Christian titled website. I can't remember exactly, maybe Christian Times or something to that extent. I don't want to get it wrong. But anyway, it was a link to a video where a bunch of thugs, and I mean a bunch, had to be maybe 8, all got out of a minivan and beat to a living pulp, I actually think to his death, a U.S. veteran. And the story was that anti-Trump protesters, the protests that are taking shape around the country, which are really riots, but for the sake of using her words, protesters killed this man. And she was distraught over it, and she was sending it to us, like everybody now is sending us stories for us to look at and potentially to run on DennisMichaelLynch.com, etc., or me to talk about here. And so we looked into it, and we found out that it was a false story. It is a false story in the sense that the video is real, but it happened back in April of 2015. And although, yes, thugs did beat and I think ultimately kill the U.S. veteran, it was not yesterday or the day before. It did not take place during the occurrences that are taking shape across this country. It is important. I'm almost going to say it's critical that you be very careful about what it is that you share. In fact, we put the story up today on DennisMichaelLynch.com and on Facebook saying it's a false story. And the reason why we reported that is because we're trying to make it so this way you don't fall for the traps. What are the traps? The traps sometimes are planted out there by liberal media and liberal scum who try to make conservatives and Republicans look like wackos. Right-wing nut jobs is what they usually refer to you as. And so when you start sharing stories that show that you're not putting 2 seconds of time into it, you're just sending it out for the shock value, you diminish. You diminish your good efforts. You diminish your warm heart and your concern and love for country. So you got to be careful. I never make that mistake. I think one time in all the years I've been doing this, I actually fell for one of those false stories, and it was actually a video that was so amazingly edited to make it look like Soros said one thing and yet he said another one. It's impossible because when he talks like this, also like this. So it was very hard, and we immediately took responsibility, took it down one time in all those years. And the reason being is because I know that your name and your reputation is everything. You lose that, it's all over. So you could always rely on the fact that we are going to check things multiple times before we make a post about something to the extent of people beating somebody to their death, okay? You're safe with us. You know, even somebody like Fox News, it's also important for you to decipher the difference between news and opinion. I know a lot of you are very upset with Fox News. Some of you boycott it and don't watch it anymore. Fox News is rather diligent in its news reporting. It's its opinions or its push of a bias of a story that will have you troubled. So you won't see Fox News or other major news organizations putting out false stories about somebody's death. So keep that in mind. You know, if you want to double check our work, you know, you take a look and you do some searches, and if it's not being reported by the major papers, then maybe you want to think twice about it. But anyway, that said, I want to go into these protesters real quick. I promise you, I know people are so up in arms and scared about what's going on with this and that it's going to continue. And you got slobs like Michael Moore showing up at Trump Tower yesterday, trying to point the camera at himself, getting more attention to himself. You know, this guy he's supposed to be all about the little guy. Meanwhile, this dirtbag has mega mansions all over. I mean, he's got one on the lake of Michigan Lake that's just stunning. Now, I have no problem with anybody buying a mansion. I'm walking amid mansions right now. They're gorgeous. Love to have me one. But you know what? I'm not going to get there by selling you false information, by doing false editing, by selling the idea that, you know, rich people are just all scumbags. That's what this guy does. He sells fear. He sells fear, and he sells lies, and he tries to pretend as if he's for the little guy. He wears his dirtbag hats, and he looks like a slob all the time, and yet the guy lives, he's a multimillionaire making money off that kind of crap. So you look at these protests / riots, and you have to realize that, yes, they are paid for, and somebody like Soros is not going to lose money anytime soon, so he's going to continue paying for them. And you get guys like Michael Moore jumping on, and the media is not reporting it the right way. I assure you, it will burn out. It will definitely burn out. It will burn out soon. Will more people get hurt in the interim? Probably so, unfortunately, but it will burn out. And the reason why it will burn out is because it's not a movement. It is just a bunch of thugs, and it's not going to get any traction, and Donald Trump isn't going to fall for the trap that they're trying to put him in. They're dying for him to put out a negative tweet. He's just not going to do it. He's learned his lessons, and ultimately, he's not going to fuel their fire. So calm down, knowing the fact that it's just got to get through the process of what dirtbags have to do, and it will simmer down. Now, why is it even allowed to go this far? Sorry about the wind, guys. I'm in a windy section of the street here. Why is it allowed to go that long? Why isn't this being stopped? That's the $1 million question. You know, I often talk to you about the rule of law and discipline. You know, without holding these people accountable, without seeing that when you do things like take baseball bats to cars, that you're going to go to jail, the media is not showing it. Nobody in law enforcement is actually showing what follows up with some of these people who are arrested, and therefore nobody has any fear whatsoever. And this all stems down from Barack Hussein Obama and the Department of Justice, always going after the good people as being the criminals and the racists, and you name it. Great jogger right here. How you doing? These people look at me. I'm telling you, if you could see the expressions on people's faces when they see me talking into the phone like this. All right, anyway. So, anyhow, going back to that, it all stems from the top. We may have to wait for President Trump to be in office until law and order and some respectability gets put back into the American system. Right now, it's a complete free-for-all. You know, you talk about a president who has never respected the Constitution, who just thought that his pen and his phone was going to be how it was he was going to rule the country. And this is the result. This is what you get. You know, a lot of times, and I always share my life with you, so I'm going to show you something that happened last night to me. A lot of times, liberals will lash out, and they're really afraid of lashing out. But they know that you as a conservative or a Republican are not going to lash back. And that's because, by and large, we have class. We don't do things like that. If Hillary Clinton would have been elected president, God forbid, we wouldn't be burning down our own country. We wouldn't be saying burn down America. We wouldn't be out shooting people and beating them, dragging them out of their cars like all the videos we see. We would be complaining about it. We would be screaming about it, but we would be doing it in a civilized sort of manner. We would do it in a real protest. I'll give you an example of what a real protest is. A couple of years back, you may remember when the IRS was targeting conservatives. Well, I'm not a Tea Party member, but I go to a lot of the Tea Party events and cover them, or I give speeches. I remember the Tea Party organized a protest, a massive protest in Washington, D.C. Thousands, maybe 10,000 people showed up. I was there. I actually spoke at one of these. I spoke at another event that was taking place that day, so I was in Washington, D.C. You know what? They all protest. They all had their signs. They all screamed and yelled for what they believed in. And when the protest was over, they cleaned up their garbage. Yeah, they put it so everything was exactly the way they found it. They didn't destroy property. They didn't rip up the lawn. They didn't leave their trash and coffee containers on the lawn. They respected the property. That's the difference between them and us. Liberals know this. This is why those Project Veritas videos were so confirming, if you will, to many of us who always have been championing this kind of thing on the radio and the TV waves. We recognize the fact that an approach by liberals is try to pick fights with conservatives because they are conservative. They'll hold back. So what you have to do periodically, without getting violent, but with having complete conviction and maybe a little bit of a growl in your voice, which I do really well, is you have to go back. You have to fight back. You just don't blow it off and put your head down. I'll give you a prime example. Last night, took my young daughter and my young son and my wife to the movies. We went to go see this movie called Arrival. Horrible. Save you 20 bucks. And so as we're going in, it was packed. And the guy and his wife are who are in front of us are standing at the doorway, and he just needed to move in a little bit so I could get my kid in. So I said, "Excuse me, sir." And he wouldn't move. I said one more time, "Excuse me, sir." And when he didn't move, I moved. I moved ahead, and I had my daughter in hand, and then he sort of, made a face and yelled out loud to the 50 people who were waiting online. I already had tickets, that's why I was going past. "Oh my God, did you see him push me?" Now, first of all, I didn't push anybody. Second of all, and so then he says, "He wants to knock me down." So now everybody's looking at me. So what's my response to this? I'll tell you right now. I looked at him and I said, "But I want to knock you down. You're going to be on the floor." Now, I didn't say let's fight. I didn't say F you. I put him back in his place. And it's not the way it's going to work, pal. You're not going to intimidate me at all. And then he turned around and he said, "Shut up." And I said, "Yeah, that's the best you got?" Okay. And I walked by and I walked through. And you know what? He looks like a fool. He starts mumbling to himself like this. All right? This is, you have to push back on these people. You don't curse, you don't scream, you don't lift your hand, unless of course you have to protect yourself, but you put these people right in their place. And you know what they do? They shut up, they go away, and they look like the liberal morons that they are. And I hate to use tactics and name calling, but sometimes there's no other way to describe these people. So, I'm going to walk a different way today. So anyway, the protests will end, and yes, there will be some more damage before it stops, but it will come to a conclusion. Now, next topic, things that you guys are sending me, and gals. There is a lot of concern that Donald Trump is not going to keep to his word on certain parts of his campaign rhetoric, if you will, and I don't mean that in a negative connotation. The things I've gotten from you, he's not going to repeal Obamacare. The other one is he's putting all DC insiders in his cabinet. And the third one is he's not really going to build a wall. Okay, real quick to reiterate what I've already told you. I don't want to say the same things over and over, but the Obamacare part, he is going to repeal it. What he said was, and what I agree with him 100%, and when I was exploring and giving my speeches, I said the same thing, that there are certain aspects of Obamacare that are good, meaning, like if you have a pre-existing condition, or if you have a child who can't find a job, and they still need to, and child, to me, a 20-something-year-old is a child, because I'm getting old. But anyway, to have them stay on your insurance. You don't want these kids to be uninsured, God forbid something happens to them. So those are things that are in Obamacare, which are useful. But what he will do is he will use those things and put them into a brand new plan. He's just going to take the concept, not the law. He's going to take the concept and put that into something new. And listen, you know, I had one guy push back on me and says, oh, pre-existing conditions, it's going to cost me more money. You know, if we give that to people. No, it's not. No, it's not. What costs you more money is when people don't have insurance, and ultimately they're going to wind up going into the hospital, and somehow we're going to wind up paying for it. What costs you more money is when you have an unhealthy America and people can't get back to work, and so they've got to collect welfare for longer than they have to. Nobody ever thinks of the math that way, okay? We want people back to work, and we also want Americans to be happy and healthy. A happy, healthy nation is so much better, isn't it? And then, of course, with the illegal aliens going home, which will be the case, all the money that we're spending on illegal aliens dropping kids in hospitals and going in and using our hospitals as if, you know, there's some outpatient clinic, that money saved, you won't even feel having to protect your fellow American if they have a pre-existing condition. And remember, a pre-existing condition doesn't mean you're paying for it. Your premiums aren't going to go all that much. But allowing somebody to get insurance for themselves with a pre-existing condition is key. Is key. Don't forget, we were all complaining about that sort of thing before Obamacare. So that's important. Number two, I said this the other day about his cabinet. Donald Trump needs to have a blend of people. And from what I've seen so far in conversations, that's what he's doing. You don't want to have all too many insiders. You don't want to have all too many outsiders. We don't want to have a cabinet with all outsiders. It won't work. It will not work. All right? It's just like when you build your football team. If you have all little guys that are just really fast, you're going to lose, because any football team needs some really big guys who could stand there and block. You need some guys who know how to catch, some guys who know how to tackle. You get a sprinkling of different people, and that's how you make a championship football team. You get some rookies, you get some veterans, because you need veterans to help along the rookies. That is why teams like the New England Patriots are always fantastic and go into the Super Bowl, because their coach understands they need a blend. They need a blend of veterans, they need a blend of newbies and rookies, they need fast, they need strong. Trump knows this. Don't you understand? Don't lose confidence in that. This guy has built his teams in business that have resulted in billions of dollars. He understands how to put together a good team. So yes, he needs insiders and old DC people like Newt Gingrich. He needs people like Senator Jeff Sessions, who's been in the Senate for quite some time. He needs politicians or ex-politicians like Rudy Giuliani. But he's also going to align it with people who come from the private sector, even if some of those people are his close friends and allies. This is what you want. I mean, if I were starting a business tomorrow and I had the choice of hiring somebody I didn't know or hiring somebody who I trusted emphatically, and they both had the same sort of pedigree and experience, I'd pick the person I know, because I know that I would never have to look over my shoulder. I could trust them. So understand that Donald Trump is going to put together a team of people who are superb, who mix DC and politics and legal, legal understanding, law backgrounds, and business backgrounds together for the perfect team, okay? All right, now, let's get to the last one you're starting to send me. Build the wall. Donald Trump basically created his campaign around the idea of building the wall and having Mexico pay for it. Now, back on my television show, which was, I always tell you this, makes me feel good, was the #1 show every single night since the night it started when I had it on Newsmax TV. The #1 show. There was not a close number 2. Okay? That's the way it should have been. I did not go on and just give lullabies and all praise to Donald Trump. When he was wrong, I held him accountable. If I disagreed with him, I stated so. That's what you got to remember. He's not a god. He's not some extra special person that has, you know, extra sprinklings on him from God that you and I don't. He's a hard worker, smart guy. But at the end of the day, now as president, I'm his boss. You're his boss. He works for me. He works for you. Our job, my job, is going to be to hold him accountable. And that's what it used to be as well when he was a candidate. I always said 2 things. One, a ban on Muslims is not going to work. He's going to have to change his position on this because there's no way of saying, well, let me look under the hood. Are you a Muslim? Okay. Somebody could just turn around and lie and say they're a Christian and get in here. What it was a function of better vetting and keeping out refugees and immigrants that are coming from countries that harbor terrorists. And so you've seen he's gone in that direction. The second thing I used to say all the time was he does not need to build a 50-foot concrete wall from San Diego down to the tip of southern Texas. You don't need it. I know that disappoints a lot of you and you won't agree with me, but understand, I have been to that border and I have worked with the Border Patrol and I have studied this more than most people. Even people who are on my team, so to say, in DC. I guarantee you Jeff Sessions has not had this sort of experience at the border. Yours truly has. Now, how do you stop the flow? Because I just put a story up yesterday that the Border Patrol is ready to collapse. And as I've told you, and I predicted that the minute, I predicted the riots that are taking place right now. I said on my television show, you go back and take a look at it, the minute he gets elected, they're going to start burning down America. They're going to start burning it down. And that's what they're trying to do. You go to the part of where I said about what will happen as soon as he's elected. I said the rush at the border is going to be something that we have never seen before, including the recent surges in 2016, earlier this year, and in 2014. The reason being is because people are going to try to get in here while they still have Obama in office, and entire villages in Central America, places in Mexico, they're going to clean out because they realize this is it. This is completely it. And so Trump is going to have himself one hell of a job because there's going to be so many more people just in the last 2 months that are going to come in through, even 3 months because it's going to take a little time to get things together. He's going to have so many more illegal immigrants that come in here. It's not going to be easy, I assure you this. But a wall would not stop that in the way that you see it stopping it. The reason being is that drug cartels, you know, when you think of drug cartels, don't think of the Al Pacino movie, Scarface, you know, where it's just, you know, say hello to my little friend. Da, 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 da. It's not all it is. These guys are highly trained. They're highly trained soldiers. I mean, these are the sort of people who could survive in the desert weeks at a time. They watch us. I have talked to military personnel. I did an interview with the former Arizona District Attorney General who said, Dennis, they're watching us more than we're watching them. They have billions and billions of dollars. These guys are like their own little army. So, and a big army, I should say. Now, they build the sort of sophisticated tunnels. They come in through airplanes. They come in through the water. You block one route, they come up with another route. So they do a lot of the human smuggling, okay? They will charge people $5,000 to $10,000 to get them in here. So what they do is they take over the drugs, they take over the human smugglers, human illegal aliens through a smuggling program. The wall is definitely a deterrent. The wall slows them down. But you must understand that the wall, aside from needing to be funded, the wall will try to be stopped. There will be so much resistance to the wall from environmentalists. There will be one lawsuit after the next. They will slow this thing down to almost a halt. Now, Trump, being Trump, and having the support of both the Senate and the House, will do everything he has to do to start that wall in certain areas to be built. But that's not how you solve the problem. How do you solve the problem on day one? I've always said this. People have resisted about, oh, Dennis, we need the wall. What's wrong with you? Turn it on Trump. No, I'm not. I'm telling you how to solve a problem. The way that you solve this problem is that you remove the incentive to come here illegally. You remove the incentive to stay here illegally from people who violate their visas. Because remember, a wall doesn't stop the guy who came in on his temporary visa and stayed. And about 50% of the illegal immigrants in this country are here on visas. They've overstayed their visas. I don't know if you could hear the church bells. I know some of you guys like to hear that. But they're out there right now. Anyhow, you have to remove the incentive. So if you remove the incentive to be able to get a job, people won't come. You remove the incentive to be able to find a place to live in a sanctuary city or in an apartment, people won't stay. If you remove the incentive by saying you're not going to get any sort of federal benefits, you're not going to get free school, people will go home. If you tell people that you're not going to, put them through the ringer and try to empty their pockets of every single last dime they've made over the last 10 years, that they could take it home and invest in their home country, and that you will allow them to fill out a form before they leave, and oh, by the way, we need your fingerprints before you leave, and you could get back on the line, people will do the right thing. So if you remove the incentive to stay and come illegally, you could leave that wall wide open. You could almost leave it unarmed. You could leave it unmanned, with the exception of drug cartels. But in theory, I hope you get what I'm talking about. I'll give you an example of how right I am. In 2013, there were 5,000, a little over 5,000 successful bank robberies in this country. Think about a bank, okay? Between all the security, the cameras, the people standing there with guns, you name it. 5,000 successful bank robberies. Why? Reason being is because there was a lot of money inside to steal. So the incentive, poor guy's got a flat, but he's driving on it, so I don't have to help. All right, so anyway, so they go in because the incentive is there's money in there, I want that money, I'm going to take it. How many bank robberies do you think there were in 2013 of banks that were empty with no money in the vault? Dun 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 dun. Zero. Nobody goes in to rob a bank that doesn't have money. Nobody goes in to rob a bank that's closed with no activity. And so there you go. The incentive is ultimately what drives these people here. They know they could get jobs, they know they could get free this, they know they could get free that, and that's why they come. In most of the studies I've done, most people who have come here illegally are not seeking citizenship. I have talked to my share of illegal aliens. Believe me, my share of illegal aliens. I have never once had anybody say to me, can't wait to hang this sheetrock legally. Can't wait to paint this house so I can pay taxes at the end of the day. Never. Remove the incentive. You don't need a wall. Now, do I think we should build a wall? Yes. I think we need to have better penetration. We have to have a better border security system along the entire border. But at the same time as guys, if you've seen some of my movies, you'll see right in Naco, Arizona. I played this clip the other day. Naco, Arizona, 400 Border Patrol trucks, the most expensive Border Patrol trucks you could imagine, radar, drones, everything. But yet, still, every single day, the drugs and the people come through. And there's a big, huge 18-foot steel fence. How do they get through? There's no will to stop them. Okay? So it goes back. You have to have the will. You've got to have the will to stop these people from coming in. If there's no will to stop them, if the leader of the free world says, let these people in, that's what's going to happen. And the Border Patrol is told not to do their job. So trust me on this one. Trust me. If there's a topic I know, it's this one. If Trump gets in on day one and makes the phone call, I said this in my 2016 speech, my first day, I take away all the executive orders this guy has put in place for illegal aliens to be able to work and live in this country. Number two, I make the phone call to ICE and to Border Patrol and every last agency that is involved in the immigration process. And I say, guess what? I want you to start doing your jobs again. Those two things there, with putting E-Verify in and holding employers of illegal labor accountable, this problem goes away. Goes away with or without the wall. So, if and when you start hearing people saying that Trump is not going to build the wall, or you see them saying, because conservatives are saying this on TV, conservative lawmakers, if you start to see where it sounds like he's coming off it a little bit, even a little bit, don't throw your hands up in the air and get frustrated and angry and think that he lied to you. All right? What he's done is he sat around the table with experts who know this topic better than he knows it himself, and they've explained to him, Donald, Mr. President, we don't need the wall as the way you're painting it. Maybe long-term, yes, but right away, we need these measures in place so we remove the incentive to stay and come here illegally. That is the magic sauce. So, I'm going to end on that, even though I have a good crowd of you. You know, whenever I see the numbers stay like this, I could either tell you like what I'm saying or you don't want me to leave. I wish I could read these comments. They just come in way too soon, too fast. But anyway, a few things that you need to know. You have to share these videos. If you stop sharing the videos, I stop doing them. That's really what it's come down to. And that's not a threat, just a promise, all right? You know, you don't share them. I see the numbers go down. I can't continue doing this. I got to put my efforts towards something else. But I believe that you want to do this because, as I've said to you a million times, this is the new media. You are the new media. And so tomorrow, I'm going to be making a video out of our studio explaining to you how it is that we're creating a new entity. You're involved, going to need your funding. If you can't do it, no problem. Still come in here and hit the share button. We don't get enough funding, we don't do it. We get enough funding, I do it the next day. It's going to be incredible. We're going to try to build it into something that is of the level of a CNN and an MSNBC and a Fox. It's going to take a little while, but I think I can get it done in 3 to 4 years without any doubt. So we're going to tell you about that tomorrow. And remember, you go to DennisMichaelLynch.com, you go to the interact button, you send in your stories through the submit button. It's much better than sending the email. It's easier for us. Or if you just need to send the email, it's wetrustdml@gmail.com. Please just don't send us links. Say, hey, DML, we think a veteran was killed in Philadelphia. Here's the report. Here's the link. Just don't send us a link. If you send us a link without anything else, we're not going to click it. All right? We're very busy. We're getting thousands of these things every day. And yes, we will be hiring many of you. We are going to be hiring people across the country on part-time and full-time bases. We're also going to be asking for volunteers to help us with this. And as we continue to grow, we'll be creating more jobs, and you'll be doing your part. You have my word on it. I've never let you down. I'm a man of my word, and that's it. So, that being said, I see you guys are dropping off. That's my indication of saying, adios, see you later. And on a vain note, I'm going to grow a beard. Tell me if you think you like it or you don't. Should I shave it? Should I not? My wife is not giving me a solid answer on it. She likes it, then she doesn't like it. Kids want me to shave it. I don't know. I'll go for your opinion, all right? We'll see you soon. Over and out. God bless you. God bless our troops. God bless the United States of America.